All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the update to the 2014 Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. This is the first public meeting for the 2024 Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. There's been a working group working on things so far. If that working group could just raise their hands and let people know how many of you are there and they're here. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We got a lot going on to update the plan from 2014 to make it, more current, see what we've done in the 10 years since the 2014 plan. And I'm going to turn it over to Kittleson Associates. Liz Flanagan from Kittleson is going to kick us off, and we'll have lots of activities for you after a little talk. Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We're really excited to kick off this part of the public engagement process with this public meeting. My name is Liz Flanagan. I'm a senior planner with Kittleson and Associates. I'm also here with Megan Mello, who's going to be helping out with the presentation and also with the activities afterwards. So we're going to have about maybe a half-hour presentation, pretty quick, just to give you an overview of the project. What are we doing? And what is the scope of this project? What is it going to cover? What have we done so far? And then after that, we'll have basically an open house. So we've got boards all around the room. We're hoping that you will take a stroll around and learn a little bit more about what we've been finding with existing conditions, provide your input and comments on vision and biking and walking in Portsmouth today and what you'd like it to be like in the future. So first of all, thinking about the project development process, this plan is an update to the 2014 Bike and Pedestrian Plan. And so its role is to do a needs assessment. So thinking about what has been done since the last plan and what still needs to be done and how can we get there. And thinking about network planning. So what are the issues that need to be addressed and how can we potentially address those issues, and thinking at a high level about what is feasible. This plan is not going to get into the details of project design. So that will be future stages. The plan is really a strategic document for the city to be able to think about how to identify future projects. And then those projects will go through engineering, design, programming, and construction. So that's what you can expect kind of from the project development process side, the plan's role versus projects that are going to have, distinct corridors and extents. As a quick overview of the project, we are doing a two-phase engagement process. And so this is the end of our first phase. We've been doing online outreach. So there is an online survey and map that is still available. It's online, and we have QR codes on many of the different boards. So you can access that. We also have a tablet available, so you can fill it out tonight, or you can provide your input analog with pen on any of our boards that we have here tonight. So all of that is going to be compiled in with everything else that we have already heard from the community. We've also been doing pop-up events. And then once we get into the second phase of engagement, we'll have another public meeting and doing some more focus groups. We've done an existing conditions review. So that includes looking at existing documents and then thinking about existing infrastructure and programmed projects, and also revisiting the vision and goals from the 2014 plan and seeing where and whether those should be updated. So that's kind of where we're at today. And then moving forward with the rest of the plan, we'll be getting into opportunities and constraints. So really thinking about the network gaps. What can we do to fill those gaps, whether that's for walking or biking, corridor, intersection, mid-block crossing, all of those things. And then coming up with a series of recommendations. And then finally putting that together in an implementation plan, which really just means thinking about those recommendations. When can they realistically be accomplished? And then what are the potential funding sources that can help support the project development of those projects? Schedule-wise, we started in spring. We are now heading into fall. So we're wrapping up those first two boxes of existing conditions and thinking about the visioning and the network. We're heading into developing recommendations. So this meeting is going to be really, really important for us to get that input from you all and finesse those recommendations so that they're really speaking to your lived experience. And then the project will be wrapping up into winter of 2025. Okay. As a quick overview of the existing conditions, we did a document review. So looking at lots of different documents that have already been published and making sure that this plan aligns with those other commitments and priorities. And then we looked at information like land use, socioeconomic and demographic information from the census and American Community Survey. Existing facilities and infrastructure, looking at places that attract short trips. So where are those places where there's maybe opportunity to support walking and biking trips, or where there's opportunity to convert short driving trips, or even getting people to transit, those kind of little 1 to 2 mile trips. Looking at roadway characteristics, the transit network, and also crash history. The documents that we've reviewed really range from all the way back in 2010 with the Safe Routes to School Action Plan up to the current 2024 Capital Improvement Plan. And then, of course, revisiting the 2014 Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan and the 2018 plan update that was done, thinking about the 2025 Master Plan, the Complete Streets Design Guidelines, and really just pulling all of this supporting work together so that we're building on that rather than starting afresh, and learning from the recommendations that have already been developed as part of these supporting documents. And in the last 10 years since the 2014 plan, there has been quite a bit of progress made. In 2017, there was a Complete Streets Design Guideline that was approved, and that builds on a Complete Streets policy. Portsmouth has also achieved bicycle-friendly community and walking-friendly community status, provided dedicated funding for bike and pedestrian projects within the CIP, and continues to support and promote events and programs like Walk and Bike to School Days. And then on the infrastructure side, this map is showing, and we do have it also over there. So after, if you want to look at it a bit more closely, you certainly can. Just looking at the pedestrian and cycling infrastructure or facilities, some of which are, built, constructed facilities, some are pavement markings, but looking at what was there before 2014, what's been accomplished since that last plan, and then also looking at projects that are programmed. So those are projects that are fairly well on their way, they're in design, or they have construction funding, and so we can expect those to be added to the network. Looking at crash history, it's interesting to see that from the 2014 plan, looking at the last 5 years, 2009 to 2013, there were 34 crashes involving a pedestrian. Bicycle crashes were not reported as part of that plan. And then looking at the last 5 years from now, we are seeing 32 crashes involving pedestrians and 11 crashes involving cyclists. But when we compare across the two plans, a lot of the same locations are popping up as problem areas, specifically Lafayette Road or Route 1, Islington Street, the northern portion of Woodbury Avenue. And then we do see a pretty large cluster of crashes in the downtown streets, which is where we also see the highest volumes of people walking and biking. And this is just a snapshot thinking about means of transportation. How are people getting around? Most people, this is commute to work. Most people are driving, but there is a significant portion when we think about mode share, 5% is a pretty big chunk of people that are walking to get to work. And then we also have folks that are carpooling and smaller percents, one each of cycling, transit, and then other. But we also want to think about where people don't have access to cars. And so this is from the American Community Survey. So in the darker green are the areas where there is a higher percentage of households throughout Portsmouth that don't have access to a car. Making sure that we're providing, as part of this plan, connections to those areas so that folks who don't have access to a car can more easily and more safely walk, bike, or access transit. And so we do have some more existing conditions information that's going to be on those boards over there. And we welcome your thoughts and your input on that. And I'm going to pass it over to Megan, who's going to walk through some more of the presentation.
All right, so we've had the opportunity to engage with folks who live and work in Portsmouth over the past few months, in addition to what we're able to do tonight in our future public meetings and focus groups. But particularly, we've launched an online survey and an online map a few months ago. It's still open for comments. So like Liz mentioned, we have some QR codes up on these boards here. So if you still haven't had a chance to submit an entry, we are definitely still welcoming those. But we're pretty happy with the response that we've received so far, and we're seeing a lot of really interesting themes come out of that. We're also asking a lot of the same questions on our boards tonight and at our pop-up event that we held in July. So if people, aren't able to access a computer or access these links, we're hoping to get their input in other ways. If you want to take a QR code home, we also have postcards at the front that link to the project website. So if you want to kind of spread this around to folks that weren't able to attend tonight, that But the important part about this sort of phase of the process is really just understanding how are people walking and biking today in Portsmouth? How do they wish and where do they wish they could walk and bike more? Or maybe where they don't feel as safe walking and biking. And just trying to get an understanding of those sort of current conditions and both geographic locations and then also just conditions in terms of how people feel and what they wish they could do on foot and on bike. We've also mentioned we do have our active working group. So our working group is made up of representatives of the organizations you see listed here. So that was really in an effort to try to reach a diverse spectrum of folks in the area. So if you happen to have any connections to these areas, you can try to reach out to your working group member. They are listed on our project website, and we're engaging the working group at really strategic points in time in this plan to help us kind of craft some of the specifics that will go into the document and the planning process. This photo is back from when we had our first working group meeting, and we actually hopped on a bus and went around Portsmouth and got to look at a number of different locations where we had heard some preliminary feedback and also locations where the city had ongoing projects that are looking to improve pedestrian and bicycle facilities. So we wanted to share a little bit about what we've heard so far from the survey. So this is just as of last week. Like I mentioned, these surveys are still open for responses and we're welcoming those. But a really important part of any survey process is trying to understand if our respondents are representative of the population that we're seeking feedback from. So we did have several optional demographic and socioeconomic questions. So we are seeing that right now the folks that have filled out the survey are, skewing white, female, 45 and above. So you can see on the left side of the screen here some of the demographics that we've pulled from the survey. And that helps us just have a baseline of knowing, who are some groups and some people that we want to make sure we're reaching through this process. And we think that we'll have some opportunities to perhaps reach other populations through later phases of engagement, like those focus groups that we've mentioned. We also want to understand, where people are coming from in their experience walking and biking, especially for folks who are living with different mobility disabilities and their experience, that's going to be different than someone who is, able-bodied. So we have some questions that kind of get to that and also get to the question of, are you walking with kids? Are you pushing a stroller down the street? Are you someone that really needs to rest often and might, desire some benches along a walking route? So these are all just pieces of the puzzle that are helping us get a better understanding of the needs of the community here in Portsmouth and what we want to make sure that the resulting plan is going to be focusing on. And when it comes to specifically why people walk and bike, we're seeing that a lot of people are using these modes for getting around town and shopping, for exercise and health and recreation. That's a big component of it. And also as sort of a stepping stone to get to other recreational facilities. We can see here the top bar of the graph on the left that there's a slightly higher percentage of folks who use biking to commute, either to work or to school, than walking, but we're seeing people who do both. So again, just kind of helping us understand what are those geographic centers that are going to be really important to provide walking and biking connections to, and that's those sort of like types of biking trips that people are making. I think a key thing that we've learned from the survey, right in the middle of the slide, is 58% of respondents are interested in biking, but only if there is some sort of formal or high quality infrastructure with separation from vehicles in place. So, that tells us just the value of certain types of bike facilities and the types of people that can be attracted to those facilities as well. And then we also did ask what is really important to folks when it comes to walking and biking. The top three things that we saw here were first, the availability of continuous facilities, so sidewalks that are continuous and connecting, as well as bike facilities that are continuous. The second thing being separation from vehicles, and the third being access to other parks and recreational opportunities. And the great thing about this map too, which if you haven't had a chance to take a look, you can read all the comments that folks have put in. I would recommend trying to access this on a computer with a mouse. It is a little bit easier than a tablet or a phone. But we're hearing some really great anecdotal, entries from folks in the community. You can see here everything from, high level stuff to really specific locations and intersections and corridors. So all of this is going to be really helpful as we move forward into the recommendation stage. We're seeing feedback about, interactions with high-speed traffic. We're seeing feedback about condition of transportation facilities. Snow clearance, definitely something important up here. And then, like I said, really specific locations. And so we're able to download all of this data and map it and use it alongside other information. So again, if you haven't had a chance, we definitely welcome your feedback. You're able to enter both points, and also you can draw a route along the map to show us both where you currently walk or bike and where you wish you could walk or bike and where you face some of those challenges. So this is what we've heard about walking. We've heard, similar comments about biking. Again, speed differentials between people biking and people driving on certain streets, and then certain corridors that are particularly important to folks as they're trying to access different parts of the city. So we are continuing to kind of take in this feedback. We will be furiously writing down your comments tonight. And again, we welcome you. There's pens all over the room. You can kind of similarly add comments or mark up the maps that we have around the room if you want to add some similar comments based on your experiences walking and biking in Portsmouth. All right. Most of our walking and biking, map related feedback, I would say, is in that corner of the room. And then we have more general feedback on this side. So you can really write it down anywhere, but just for the lay of the land, we'll be on both sides of the room and you can share your feedback with us. I'm going to pass it back to Liz.
Okay, and so then the last part of this presentation is going to talk about the vision and goals for the plan. The vision and goals are important because they are the documentation of the community's desire for what the future of walking and biking should look like in Portsmouth. The 2014 plan established a vision, and that is shown up here. It says that Portsmouth residents, workers, and visitors will view walking and bicycling as comfortable and convenient ways to get around the city, and that walking and bicycling will be part of Portsmouth's culture, making the city a healthy and vibrant place to live. And so the project team felt that it was appropriate to carry forward that vision and then adjust and update the goals that support that vision. So the first three goals come from the 2014 plan, and they are to improve the safety of walking and biking, increase the number of walking and biking trips, and advance Portsmouth's reputation as a city where these modes are a visible part of everyday life. So those have been carried forward from the 2014 plan. And then in addition, we've added two new goals. So goal number 4 was added to support the 2025 master plan theme of connected. And it's to improve connectivity for walking and biking throughout Portsmouth and equitable access to key destinations like employment, schools, and transportation. And then the 5th goal, which has been added, has been added to support other complementary city priorities. So this one is to advance complementary city priorities such as the climate action plan and affordable housing through environmental, access, and public health benefits related to walking and biking. So we have these statements on this board over here, and we would like you to review them and think about them. Think if anything is missing that should be really at this high level, a driving feature of the plan. And so we welcome your comments on that to help inform the vision and goals for the plan. All right, so next steps. We are going to keep the online survey open until October 11th. So as Megan said, you can fill it out tonight. You can leave us written comments tonight. You can also take a postcard with the QR code and give it to your friends and family who weren't able to make it tonight and haven't filled out the survey yet. So we'll have that open for another week and a half or so. And then moving on in the project, we'll be identifying based on what we hear tonight and all of the hundreds of survey responses we've already received, coming up with that list of recommendations. Once we have that done, we will be revisiting you again with another public meeting to present some of those findings and also having focus groups to finesse those recommendations and make sure that we're connecting with appropriate stakeholders. So at this point, we're going to turn it over to an open house. We've been pointing at these boards. Generally speaking, you can do a rotation around the room. That'll take you from the project kind of background and purpose through existing conditions. You can review the vision and goals in more detail and spend some time with that and leave us your comments there. We've got Post-it notes and markers. And then if you come over here, we have some examples of bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So if you have any questions about, what is a shared use path, what's a multi-use path, you can ask Megan or myself. We'll be stationed over there. And we'll also be asking for your input actually on the network. Where do you want to go that you can't go? Where do you face problems? Where do you have challenges crossing the road? Where do you wish you could walk with your kids, but you can't? So all of that feedback you can provide to us either, again, by writing or online through the survey. We've got markers and pins and sticky notes. And then I would just ask that anyone from the working group, we are looking to you to also help us talk to folks. So if people have questions, if you can answer it, great, or you can point them our way and just help us keep an engaging dialogue going throughout this. So with that, I think we'll break it up. And if you have any questions, definitely come find us and we can do a quick report back at the end. Thank you.
Hey, Liz, I'm also Liz. I'm Liz. So I don't know whether my questions can. I was wondering.